The views and opinions expressed and/or the representation of products advertised on the following program do not necessarily represent those of KTOV or its management.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy good morning to you, wherever you are. This is the Clara Luper radio show, and today's show is being brought to you by your Allstate insurance agent, Merlin Hildred. Let's talk about insurance. It's something that you need, and under the laws of the state of Oklahoma, that's something that you must have. Now, what I would like for you to do is to call Merlin. Her home telephone number is 427-8399. You may call Merlin, and Merlin will take care of you. Now, on Monday, you can have the opportunity to go out to Merlin's office because you've got to have that insurance. And since you've got to have it, Merlin says, I want your business. I want your business. I sell life insurance, home insurance, motorcycle insurance, name it, and I will sell it to you. That's Merlin Hildred, 843-0811. Merlin Luper, your insurance agent, your neighborhood exclusive agent of Allstate Insurance Company. Now, this is a great day for us. The Lord has allowed us to see the sunshine, and now we're going to see the drizzling and the snow. What a day. As we enter the Thanksgiving season, we would like to stop on the doorsteps of time and say thanks to all of you. We would like to thank those of you that have made the Black History Monument, the Black History Mall wall, and those of you that are going to make the Black History Garden a success. Let's talk about last Sunday. Last Sunday, over 3,000 people from daylight in the morning until after sunlight stopped at the Black History Monument. What a day. What a day of rejoicing. What a day of shouting. What a day of crying. What a day. And today, those of you that had the opportunity to drink from the spiritual, nationalistic American dream, I want you to call me, 672-1220. I would like to know what you thought about last week's ceremony. It had been a week of activities in which we trace the history of America as it relates to her black citizens from the days of slavery, or even before, from the roots in Africa, slavery, Reconstruction, Professional Day, and then the sit-inners, the Civil Rights period, and then the Musica. But then it was Sunday. The sun came out brightly. The day passed quickly. The national president of the NAACP, Mrs. Rupert Richardson, came to Oklahoma City, picked up in a limousine furnished by Mr. John Temple, rushed to the Fairview Baptist Church where the crowd was waiting, and the crowd had an opportunity to hear Robert Gates and King David's Lodge. They had an opportunity to hear the melodious voice of Robert Gates as he presented some great music along with the brothers. And then the president of the NAACP told us that there was a time for everything, and that was a time of remembrance. Oh, it was a day. It was a day of rejoicing. It was a day of giving. It was a day of hugging. It was a day of saying, thank God we made it. And I appreciate those of you that have called me and expressed your appreciation and your support for the eloquence of that beautiful, talented president of NACP, Sherdina Fowler, who welcomed you and served as the mistress of ceremony. I would like to thank the president of the AKA sorority, Mrs. McCain, who presented to the national president a beautiful corsage. And I would like to thank Shelley Luper, a member of the National Youth Work Committee, for presenting the president of NAACP. Most of all, I would like to thank the Fairview family for allowing us to use that beautiful church. And for all of you that came to witness this great moment in history. And now we are turning our eyes toward Mr. and Mrs. Jerry Todd. Jerry Todd, well known in the business world. Jerry and his wife, marshals of the parade, and it was a parade. They stood from different directions. They came by automobile, by trucks, even a garbage truck. The motorcycles from all over the state. Motorcycle riders came. The rodeo people. Oh, what a day. And then the automobile. When we arrived by limousine to the Black History Monument, we couldn't believe our eyes. There were people wall deep. The Oklahoma City Police Department, under the auspices of Officer Owens and his group, professional, did an outstanding job, along with the Oklahoma County Sheriff Department, headed by Sheriff J.D. Sharp. What a combination of teamwork. That was something to behold. People stopped. They stood at attention because something unique was happening in Oklahoma City, something that had never happened before. And it'd be a long time before something like that happens again. But the highlight were those devoted and courageous men and women whose faces appeared on that monument. Oh, what an opportunity to sit down with history, to sit down with men and women that had paved the road of opportunity for us to roll by on. It was a feeling. And then as we arrived, the monument covered with blue covering and a big yellow ribbon. And then they rushed to the stage where Kenesha Cornelius presided. And then a melodious voice of Jocelyn Brown crying a message out. To God be the glory. The beautiful sunshine, the beautiful melodious voice. And then Reverend W.B. Parker, whose face is on the monument, and who looked up to the heavens, bowed his head, and gave a prayer of gratitude. The big moment came as Dr. Clarence Davis stood up with his Bible in his hand and read. And there were many in the audience that thought that he was going to read his sermon. But he closed his Bible and he talked out of the depths of his heart. He pointed toward the monument. And there he said, these are they. These are they that have worked through the sunshine, through the winter. These are they. And he went on to talk about how that monument got there and what it means, not only, Dr. Davis said, to the people of Oklahoma, but the people of America. What a day. What an address. A mammoth address. What an opportunity that you experience once in a lifetime. And by this time, Mr. and Mrs. Kermit Walker, Glendale Brown, Mrs. Darlene Perry McLeod, Kenesha Cross made their way to the monument. Now they were looking, along with representatives from Ronnie's Sign Company. They were looking now. And then the scissors. Now the ribbon is cut. The crowd goes up and yelling and hollering. Balloons fill the air. People clapped. People cried. And there was the monument built for the centuries. And today I would like to take this opportunity to say thanks to all of you. To all of you that have made that monument possible. You that have sacrificed. You that have given when it didn't look like it was any reason to give. To those of you that gave of your means, whether it was a dime or a dollar, $100 or $50, I want to say thanks. And to all of you, I would like to quote from Reverend Wade Watts, who's President Emeritus of the Oklahoma State NAACP. He says that you have endured like an old oak tree. You know, the old oak tree was once nothing but an acorn. But when buried in the ground, moistened by the rain and warmed by the sun, it will pull off its coat and go to work and shoot its tiny twig up through the Mother Earth and shout to the heavens. The cold winter winds blew, but the old oak stood there. The high waters came and marked her way up, high on the old tree, but she stood there. Wild animals came and stripped it of its precious leaves, but the old oak stood there. Lightning flashed and vanished in the glare, but the old oak stood there. The thunder poured forth her roaring tones, but the old oak stood there. The mockingbirds came, built her nest, laid her eggs, hatched her young, and sung her sweet lullaby, then left. But the old oak stood there. So it was with all of you out in radio land that helped to build that monument, that wall. Helped. You are like that old oak tree. You stayed. You were there. And today, on behalf of our whole team, we want to say thank you. We want to say thank you from the depths of our heart. Now, we did have one sister, her name was Dorothy, who talked about what we should have done. And I would like to say to the Dorothys in Oklahoma City, you are exactly right. We should have done more. But where were you in January 1990 when we had a search committee looking through the pages of history, looking through the sign-ins, the notebooks, throughout the history of the NAACP? Where were you with all of your knowledge? Where were you when the youth council voted on the names that they wanted on the monument that they wanted to erect, even to unborn generations? Where were you with all of your ability and with all of your talk? Where were you then? You're talking about what we ought to do. What did you do? We did the best that we could. You have the know-how. Why didn't you do something? Now, for those of you that want things changed, I invite you to come to NAACP youth meetings on Monday night and help to change them. We admit our weaknesses. We admit the many things that we did wrong, but we also admit that we did the best we could. And what did you do? Did you come up there and say, this should be done this way? Or did you sit on your behind using a telephone to destroy the efforts that we put forth? Now, I want to set the record straight. And I want all of you who do not like the ones that we have on, I want to tell you once again, Oklahoma is full of free land. Go out, buy you some land. Ask the people to help you build a monument. That's what we did. But we made sure that the people that we put on that monument were people that had made contributions to American history. Not those people that were on big payroll, but those people who sacrificed and worked in the heat of the night. And we would like to say to all of you that understand history, we thank you. We want to thank you, and we will have printed for you the history of those people that were involved, and you have somebody with better history, let us know. Now, I had somebody to tell me that the senior branch had raised the money, had helped us to raise the money. I would like to read from the financial record. The senior branch of NACP donated $250 to that monument. The president of the NACP, the Honorable Mr. Milton, donated $25. Yet he came up to Freedom Center and bought dinners, and we appreciate it. The NACP senior branch, and I want you to know it, did not raise the money for that monument. In fact, if you go back and read the articles that were written by the president of NACP, you will see nothing in there that encouraged people to support the NACP Youth Council in its effort to build a monument to those people that have worked and died and suffered for freedom. We have the record, and we want you to go up and see the record. We want you to go through our receipts. We want you to see. And we want to thank and acknowledge, and these people that have given must be recognized. History cannot overlook those that gave of their means, and we are not going to do it. Many of you have called me and asked me about the banquet last night. There was a banquet. That was a banquet last night that was sponsored by the NACP senior branch. The theme was youth. Does anyone care? Does anyone listen? The speaker spoke for a long time, and he did not expound the philosophies that I believe in personally, and I'm speaking for Clara Luper. Because anybody that think I want to go back to a segregated society for 1 minute is thinking wrong. I worked in a segregated school system where the plumbing would go out, and sometimes it would be out for a week. I worked in a segregated system where we had few books and a lot of nothing. I worked in a segregated system, and I shall fight it as long as I live. And I'm not one of these that's going to talk about what all's going on in Africa. I have sense enough to know what's going on in Africa. I've seen people starving because the leaders will not unload the boats or the ships with the food on it. I see the fighting in Africa. I see the tribal welfare. And I see Africans coming to America and not being in a hurry to go back. Oh, you can talk about integration all you want to, but I know one thing. I know that I believe in integration with every vein in my body, every artery, and every bone. And we are going to have to live in an integrated world. And you ask me how easy is it to go back to a segregated society? Let me answer that in the way that I would answer it. I would answer it because you got to remember, I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma. The only way that we could go back to a segregated society, you would have to go back and get in your mother's womb and be reborn. Now, I would like to repeat so you will know, no segregation for me. I stood on the streets of my beloved Oklahoma City from August 19, 1958 to 1964, and then went back on the streets with the sanitation workers. I participated in every major march in America for integration, and then you're going to tell me to go back? Back where? Back for what? And nobody can tell me that integration is worse than slavery. You can't tell me that, because I see a black Secretary of Veterans Affairs. I see black representatives. I see black senators. I see a black woman in Illinois headed for the United States Senate. I see a black judge, a black man serving as a judge on the Circuit Court of Appeals in Texas, Morris Overstreet. Don't tell me about going back. Tell me about how we can move into the 21st century. And I don't want young children out there in radio land thinking that we can go back. I don't want you to have that thought that segregation was better than integration. And I want you to take that out of your minds. Rather, I want you to get in these integrated schools and show the world that your mind is not back in the 17th and 18th century. I used to go into hotels and wonder about the price of a meal. But now I go in there and with pride I wonder who's selling the rugs, the lights, and who's doing the work, who owns the hotel. We must move toward ownership. We used to sing an old song as we rode through the South. If you miss me from the back of the bus, don't worry about me. Move on up to the front of the bus, and I'll be sitting there. Then our minds moved to the 21st century. If you miss me from the front of the bus, don't worry about me. Look in the driver's seat. I'll be driving that bus. And if you miss me from driving that bus, don't worry about me. It's going in the office. I'm going to own that bus. And I know that I can't make it in a segregated society. And some of you have asked me about the whites that are on that monument. You're right. John F. Kennedy is there. John F. Kennedy is the first president of the United States to say segregation is a moral issue and it's morally wrong. Yes, John F. Kennedy is there. Lyndon Johnson is there because he signed the bills that changed American history. He signed the Civil Rights Bill of 1964, which opened public accommodations so those that are talking about segregation can go anywhere in this United States. 1965, it was a voters' rights bill that opened a door where Wilder could become governor of Virginia. Reverend Shields, who stood in the cold in Oklahoma City when many people were too busy, who walked with us, who stood at Bishop's restaurant, who wrote letters in our behalf. Yes, he's there. Father McDowell is there. Father Robert McDowell, who went to jail with us, who cried with us, who prayed with us. And when he got ready to leave Corpus Christi, I shall never forget it, he stood in Calvary Baptist Church and said, I'm leaving you all, but I'm leaving my heart with you. Finally, Father McDowell died alone in Chicago, unidentified. Yes, Dr. Donald Yates on that, because Dr. Donald Yates gave his life in the great cause of freedom, sacrificed his leadership, his education as an ophthalmologist here in Oklahoma, and had to leave here because of his stand. He belongs there. He belongs there. Attorney Johnny Green belongs there. You remember you ordered our case. Oh, I could go on down the list. But today, tomorrow, and the next day, I want you to do what other people are doing. I want you to go by and see it for yourself. And let me give you what we didn't do. We didn't count on what would happen on Monday. On Monday, we had a busload from Las Vegas that drove there because they had seen it on television and looked at that monument. We had a carcade from California that came by and spent 2 hours looking at the monument, looking at the walls, and looking at the garden. We had visitors from Victoria, Texas, from Dallas, Texas, from Houston, Texas. We had a delegation from Enid, Oklahoma. I want you to just believe me. And don't take my word for it. Ask Mr. Johnson next door. Ask Mr. Robert Gates. This is what happened. And the day after, I need not describe it. One beautiful young lady, Monique Whitaker, walks in with her principal, her vice principal, and her class, and stood there and say, this is Freedom Center. This is the monument that I helped to make a reality. Now you know how excited I am. And I'm very touchy about a few things. And I don't want you coming up telling me what we should have done, because I want to know, what did you do? And I have some things that what you should have done too. They used to sing a song down in Hoffman, Were You There? When they crucified my Lord. And I ask you, were you there when we were selling chitlins and fish? Were you there? Or did you sit at home and wait and prophesy that it would not become a reality? We aren't through yet. And today I'm going to tell you what I need. And those of you that believe in beauty, that believe in freedom, I'm going to tell you what I need. And I want you to call me at 672-1220. I'm not begging you for anything. I'm just reminding you of what your NACP Youth Council needs. It's yours. Now let me tell you, in building the monument, because of our limited ability, we did not put the lights in where at night people could see the faces. And that's not a problem, because today I'm going to ask you for donations to put in floodlights on that monument. There are a lot of people that work in the daytime that want to come by there at night, and I've seen them standing out there. Last night we came by there after we left the banquet, and there were people trying to see the faces. Now we need some lights. My telephone number is 672-1220. The next thing we need to finish the wall with its history of black people from 1619 to the present day. And I was so proud yesterday, Ms. Johnson came by and said, I want to buy a block. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. I would like to tell you what we need, and I want to see what you are going to do about it. We need to finish the garden, the beautiful trees and the flowers. We have not paid for that. It's going to take about $3,000 to finish that Freedom Garden, and I'm counting on you, because this will be your opportunity to do something besides talk. Today we are going to be selling catfish dinners, chitterlings, chicken at Freedom Center. And every time you buy a dinner, you will be helping to get lights. And many of you will want to go further. You're going to say, Clara, here's a donation. It doesn't make any difference whether the amount. You want to be part of it. I told Portwood Williams Sr. that I needed a Christmas tree. And I want you to pass by Freedom Center and you will see a 15-foot Christmas tree. And I need some decoration for that Christmas tree. Why do we have to go to Quail Creek and Nichols Hill and everybody else and look at something that's beautiful? Why can't we make our side of town beautiful? And we can do it. I need enough Christmas lights to decorate a 15-foot Christmas tree. And today I need somebody to come up there and help us put that Christmas tree up. Now we're going to have a big day the day after Thanksgiving, because we are going to turn those lights on. And there are going to be thousands of lights up there because you're going to help us. And if you don't help us, you will miss an opportunity. You will miss an opportunity to be part of something great. Well, today I would like to thank Mr. Gates, who would like to take time out from his busy schedule to say thank you during this Thanksgiving season. Mr. Gates said that through the years, I have had the opportunity to cut your hair, to make you beautiful, and I want to continue to do so. Mr. Gamble in the background say, me too, me too, me too. So let me call Mr. Gates, Deacon Gates, because he was ordained as a deacon last Sunday at the Tabitha Baptist Church. And congratulations to the deacon. But go by today and get your hair cut, and then go over and look at the monument. Go over and get you some a catfish dinner, chitlin dinner, or a chicken dinner. Go over and enjoy homemade desserts. Now, if you don't feel like going, call 424-2384, and we will be having delivery service today for those of you that cannot get out. Now, those of you that want to make a donation on the lights, the Christmas tree lights, the lights that will light up the monument, I want you to make your checks out. They are tax deductible to Freedom Center Incorporated. To Freedom Center Incorporated. Let's get those things lighted up so by next Wednesday you can come by there at night and look at the 100 citizens on that monument. I need your support. There's so many things that I would like to thank you for. I would like to thank you for your encouragement, and that's what people need. They need encouragement. I don't want you to wait until I die and come out and say, oh, Miss Luper, you aren't going to resolve anything over me unless you resolve today to get out and help me get some Christmas lights. Help me get some lights on that monument. You helped me to get that monument, and I told you. The telephone number out here is 672-1220. And I would like for you to call me and let me know what you thought of the entire services. And talking about what you thought, did you know that Dr. A.L. Dow earned his place on that monument? Not only that, if you're having any kind of eye trouble, I want you to call Dr. Dow, Dowell.